Mike Perry got knocked out by Jake Paul, losing the fight that people were actually arguing that he was going to win, and after all of this, Jake Paul called out Alex Pereira. We just saw that Mike Perry versus Jake Paul happened and things didn't go good for Mike Perry. We all kind of looked at it, and from all the information we had, we believed Mike Perry was going to give Jake a tough fight or even win that fight in itself. But honestly, after watching that fight, I don't think Mike Perry got that memo from us. The fight opened up with Mike Perry having a very open guard, and I was super concerned. I was like, why is your guard so open? Your hands are out here. That's not good. Once I saw this, I kind of already knew what was up. A lot of people thought, because BKFC is very similar to boxing, that Mike Perry would be able to convert every single bit of knowledge he has from BKFC to the boxing ring, and it just didn't go as well as we thought it was going to go. And I think this is going to show people that even though sports may be similar, there are still differences that are kind of hardwired into fighters' heads and players' heads, and they just can't snap out of it because something might fly in one sport but might totally give you a huge disadvantage in a different sport that are both very similar. But in my opinion, the only thing that translated from both sports was Mike Perry's platinum skull, because he was just eating shots. In the first few rounds, we got a knockdown by Jake Paul and some very nice moments from Jake, but Mike kind of shook it off for the most part, and he was kind of holding his own as the fight went on. And at the end of the day, Mike Perry is a resilient fighter, so we kind of expected this, and if you know how he fights, we expected that he was going to be able to take a lot of punishment before he went down, or if he went down at all. Mike did try his hand with some well-placed shots, but it was almost like every time Mike would hit Jake with a shot, Jake just ate them and didn't even react like he felt them at all. But I did notice one thing. So basically, every single time Mike Perry would land a big shot or any shot on Jake Paul, especially when it came to the head, Jake Paul would kind of lean back just a little bit so the shot would connect, but all the power would be taken from it. And I think this is just the unfair advantage of the height difference. If you're a taller fighter and you're fighting at a longer distance, you have more time to see that shot coming. You might not be able to escape completely, but you can move back just a little bit, and that little bit will help you just take that sting out of the shot, and Jake was utilizing this all throughout the fight. I'm also not sure if the boxing gloves were offsetting Mike's punches, because after a while, a lot of his power shots were being slipped and missed, and I felt like if those were landing as much as he was throwing them, we would have seen a totally different outcome on this fight. The only time we actually really saw some good defense from Mike Perry was during the corner defenses. So a lot of the times he'd get put into the corner and he'd actually bring his hands up and he'd use some lateral movement to get out of there, or just be able to make those shots bounce off his arms. If he had used that same defense all the time during the fight, I think he would have been able to mitigate some of that damage he took early on. And in the later rounds, we did see another rocking where Mike got rocked by Jake, but I feel like Mike Perry was actually already hurt and he just kind of put on a brave face to make it look like he was okay, but really deep down, he was gone, and as soon as he lost balance, it kind of showed that this guy was not all there in that moment. So Jake Paul did win as expected, but I really did believe that Mike Perry was going to give him a much harder fight, and I was actually super shocked that the fight looked the way it did, because I thought Mike Perry was going to give Jake one of those tough fights and we're going to see Jake actually have to go through the trenches to beat this guy. But it kind of just looked like one of Jake's fights that he always has. If Mike wanted to win this fight, all he had to do was have a higher guard to protect his head. He was eating shots, like heavy shots, even from the opening round. I was watching it and I was feeling those headshots my damn self. He was going on the offensive way too much. Even at times where Mike Perry was literally just came out of being rocked, he would go right back into the offensive with his hands down and just start eating shots. I don't know if it was like an ego or a macho thing, but he was literally not giving himself time to recover. Mike Perry needed time to recover between those fast-paced exchanges where he was like taking shots. Instead of just taking some time to recover, he would go right back into it. He was super hungry, but he was doing it while sacrificing his defense and his form. And to be honest, I believe those things lost Mike Perry the fight. Jake Paul didn't look a lot better than we've seen him in the past, so he didn't like get super good, and that's why he was outclassing Mike Perry. I could even argue that in this fight, Jake Paul looked a lot sloppier. He was throwing some really stupid shots. He was flailing around. Sometimes his leg was lifting off the ground. He looked very messy. If he fought the same way against a high-class opponent, I do not think Jake Paul would have walked out of there. He was making way too many mistakes that Mike Perry was just not utilizing or capitalizing on. And after the fight, we saw Conor McGregor say he's going to disown Mike Perry from the BKFC. Mike's response was like bang on, like what the hell is he talking about?
Nah, man, I appreciate you talking about it, whatever. Me and him are both owners of BKFC, so you can't fire me. I lost to Jake Paul. Why don't you go fight Jake Paul in boxing with the gloves on? I think it would be worse than Conor McGregor versus Mayweather.
Conor is a huge star, but when have we last seen him fight? And I'm pretty sure he's never had a bare knuckle fight. And to be honest, Mike Perry's been one of the people holding up the BKFC over the last few years. Whenever I think about BKFC, I see Mike Perry's face. It's like, why are you trying to say you're gonna fire someone who's literally holding that thing up on his chest? And now the biggest kind of moment we got after the whole fight was Jake Paul calling out Alex Pereira. Jake Paul called Alex out, and before Jake even left the ring, Alex was on the phone to him on FaceTime, and they were kind of like, I don't know, this might be a thing. Is Poatan going to actually let Jake Paul get a fight? I do have a few opinions on that, but I'm not sure if you guys are gonna like what I'm going to say, but I'm gonna make a whole video on that because I think it's something that we have to consider, and it might not be the best thing for Alex. But anyway, guys, again, if you like my opinions and the things I say and all these little bits of news I bring to you in my breakdowns, make sure to leave a like and a subscribe. Make sure to sub because I'm gonna be making that video about Alex and y'all are gonna be angry at me, but see you guys on the next one.